Hi everybody, I'm Jeff,
And I'm Linda.
and welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we talk about the paranormal at a pub table. Welcome to this edition of the Paranormal Pub Table, where we're going to be talking about some paranormal randomness, if you will. Just some random things that come to mind. Every once in a while we sit down and we try to put together content for a Paranormal Pub Table video. We haven't done one in a while.
Right.
A lot of things that require research and thought and such. So we kind of figured for this one, we're just going to talk about some random stuff. All right? Now, for starters, Paranormal Pub Table is brought to you by Yorktown Ghost Walks. And that's me actually on the flyer there because
Sure is.
we give the tours down there in Yorktown. For some of you that didn't put that together, we do give the tours down there. You can come down and explore the dark side of Yorktown. You can learn about the history and the ghost stories that's associated with that historic town. And it's a kind of a cool little tour. We've got some positive
It is.
feedback on it.
It is. It's actually quite fascinating. I mean, even for people that aren't really into history that much, this is history made interesting. Really. I mean, Yorktown is a fascinating place, full of stories that even those who are not interested in history would find interesting. So.
Absolutely. And the
Well,
ghost
with it.
stories help to bring the kids in.
Right.
And that's one thing that, I'd like to go on a brief rant about real quick is there's a lot of places that we call up to try to do paranormal investigations. And right off the bat, they say no.
Right.
And these aren't necessarily well-known places. They're not places that are getting a lot of money from the tourist traffic. Maybe
Yeah.
2 or 3 people a day come through and visit some of these places. I'm not going to mention any specific names. But they're not willing to bring in more of an audience.
Right.
And they just shun the paranormal. They immediately, like I said, they immediately say, no, we don't allow paranormal investigations. We don't support fiction stuff.
Right.
All of that. And if you think about it, the ghost stories appeal to a certain audience.
Yeah.
To people that aren't necessarily history buffs, they can take it or leave it,
Right.
the history.
Right.
But they hear this ghost story. Kids, people that are, like I said, somewhat into history, but not enough to go out to some of these places.
Yeah.
Some of these places they may have never even heard of before, but they hear a ghost story. And then they're tuned in. And they hear that this place is haunted. They hear who it's haunted by.
Right.
Then they want to know more. Well, why is this person haunting this place? What happened in this person's life that caused him to stay behind?
Right.
What happened at this place that made it haunted? We feel that a lot of times these ghost stories, even if you take them as just a story, say I don't believe in ghosts, I believe in ghosts, but say you don't believe in ghosts, just an interesting story to bring people in and get them interested in the place.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these places are failing to do that.
They really are, and I'm going to throw out a name here. The National Park Service is terrible for this. The National Park Service owns most of Yorktown. They own all of the buildings and the land that the buildings sit on. They don't own the streets. They don't own the sidewalks. However, it's one of those towns where you can compare it to Williamsburg. Williamsburg is this booming town. They have historical reenactors there all the time. They have tourism like crazy up there because Williamsburg is actually run by a board. They're not run by the National Park Service. But the National Park Service owns Yorktown. And they're really just kind of sitting on it. They're letting it sit there, letting it rot away for the most part from what I can see. And when I was a kid, I had absolutely no idea. Even though I grew up right outside of Yorktown, I had no idea of the history that was involved with that place. And that Yorktown actually has much more of a rich history than Williamsburg really does.
Right.
And it just drives me nuts that the National Park Service has all of these buildings and they're not utilized. Either they have these buildings available for rent or lease, and they make it so difficult for the tenants to stay there that they really can't get any tenants, or they just have buildings sitting empty. For instance, the Thomas Nelson House, this big, beautiful house that's still got blood-stained floors from the Civil War when it was used as a hospital.
Absolutely.
Still got this blood stains on the floors. And instead of having people there as reenactors to be able to show what life might have been like in this house for the Thomas Nelson, General Nelson, and his family, instead of that, they have this thing sitting empty. They occasionally run tours through there, and the tours are usually conducted by volunteers who I imagine probably don't have as much invested in this as somebody that was being paid to do the job. If they even show up to work, because let's face it, if you're a volunteer, you can just, if you don't feel like going to work that day, you're not going to go to work that day.
Absolutely. And this right here, this is kind of what Linda's talking about, is failing to even present the history.
Right.
I'm asking, comment down below, do you think ghost stories trigger interest in history?
Yes.
I want to know how many people agree with that, because there's several places, and I like history, I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I love history. But there are several places that I would have never found out about without looking up ghost stories, without researching paranormal activity.
Yeah.
There's so many places that come up that are haunted, and I say, wow, this is an interesting place. Let me look into the history of it.
Right.
And then I find an awesome piece of history and a cool ghost story to go along with it.
Yeah.
What's the harm in that?
Yeah. I don't see it. I don't see any harm in that.
I don't know. And Williamsburg caught on. They did, because we've been trying to get investigations down in Williamsburg for years now.
Yeah.
And every year, I go back every year just to see if there's a different answer.
Right.
And they shoot it down. No. But they started, actually, because there's several ghost tours in Williamsburg, they started actually giving their own ghost tour.
Yeah.
Where they take you inside some of the buildings.
Yeah.
Because they saw that there's actually money in that. There's a huge interest in the ghost tours, because a lot of times people that are interested in history, they understand that folklore is an important part of our history. I mean, some of these stories have been passed down since colonial times. There's stories we tell along this Yorktown Ghost Walk that go back to 1791.
Right.
Ghost stories from 1863. So it's part of our history to understand not only that, whether you believe in ghosts or not, historical figures experienced, or at least reported, paranormal activity.
Right.
Paranormal events.
That's right. Folklore actually makes history more appealing. That's what you're saying to people that wouldn't normally be interested in it.
Absolutely.
Particularly our kids, which is one thing that I'd like to mention, is that kids are not being taught in the public school system the value of our history as a nation as they should be. And when I was a kid even, which was many moons ago, it just wasn't, there were things that we weren't taught, that now as an adult I look back and say I should have been taught that. I really should have.
Right.
But, it's even worse now. The standards of learning are making things so that kids are being taught how to dance like a Polynesian. And yet they're not being taught something as simple as handwriting and being able to, who's going to be able to read the Constitution of the United States for themselves, the actual document itself, if they don't know handwriting. So it's things like that that are making history kind of die. It's sort of a dying thing, is to be interested in history, and it's really a shame.
We've got to get more people interested, and there's ways to make it interesting.
Yeah, ghost
and
stories,
sometimes
folklore.
a ghost story, like I said, these ghost stories, even if you don't believe the ghost stories, they have actual pieces of history intertwined within the story.
Right.
You know, so please, if anyone is listening that works at a historical place that is quick to say, no ghost stories, no paranormal, this isn't going to deter people. The 3 people that come and walk through a particular historic courthouse during the day aren't going to say, "Oh, it's haunted. I'm not going to walk through it now."
Right.
No.
Yeah. That's
They're either
ridiculous.
not going to believe in ghosts and say, "Ha, that's cool story, but
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a bunch
believe
of
it,"
hooey, yeah.
or they're going to say, "Oh, I believe in ghosts. That sounds cool.
Right.
Let's go check it out because this place is haunted." Might even bring more people in.
Yeah.
There might be a small percentage that are like, "Oh, that's haunted. I'm not going anywhere near it." But
yeah, and if nothing else, it teaches our kids to be a little more open-minded about the spiritual world and about things that they can't see with the naked eye.
Right.
So
absolutely.
yeah, teach
absolutely.
your kids to be open-minded.
Yeah, why not? To an extent.
Yeah.
At least for ghosts.
Right.
Don't gotta be too open-minded. Speaking of that, check out this hat, right? This
Oh,
hat.
yeah, the hat.
I'd like to give a shout out to our friend Chris.
Yes.
Chris came up and took one of our ghost tours. He came up and took 2 of our ghost tours.
Right.
I think he liked it so much he came back. I don't know.
Yeah, he brought his
I
family
don't know.
back. Yeah.
But he gave me this hat right here, which was a custom made. He's got the VAPI ghost up here.
Yeah.
And it's quite a cool hat. So I figured I'd sport it for this episode of the Paranormal Pub Table. And
the glasses.
these glasses,
Yep.
which they have the ghost on them. And you know what? I'm going to go and fill these up with some soda and nothing else.
And I would like to mention as well, as far as the Chris is concerned, Chris does some really awesome artwork. He takes scenes from our videos, and if you're a follower of ours and a fan, you may have seen some of these pictures online because we post them on social media. He takes these pictures and illustrates them in this sort of whimsical sort of comic book fashion. And we love them.
We do. We do.
Absolutely love them.
David did a little thing, What If, and he did
Yeah.
the picture for What If. Let's see if we can flash that picture up there.
Right.
Hopefully I'm not saying that. We don't have the capability to flash it up, but flash up that What If picture. This is David in front of... Now you notice there's an alien by the trash can, and this is because David did a little... It was kind of a funny thing, a
Right.
what if, where he just did something humorous. And he
Yes.
said, what if homeless people are aliens? And that's ridiculous. Well, we don't really believe that homeless people are aliens.
So
but
don't start commenting.
yeah, don't be like, oh, it's mean to the homeless people, because maybe it's mean to the aliens. I don't know.
Could be.
But nonetheless, Chris did this drawing here, and it's the David What If series, which is pretty cool. And David did a couple more, but we figured some of them might be too controversial to post. I don't know. We might just go ahead and throw them up there anyway.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, what if? How about a what if segment from David? I don't know.
Right.
Let's throw that up there.
In our daily search for answers, one man rises up to ask the question,
What if?
But those of you who do know that I do kind of like Scooby-Doo, kind of a fan, and I can't say that Scooby-Doo is what got me into the paranormal, but I can say I watched those cartoons at a very young age, and I thought that would be cool to go out and solve mysteries, if you will, especially ones with a creepy twist. So Chris did this drawing for us too with the VAPI Mystery Machine, and this is one of my favorites, of course. And he did quite a few more that we really like. We have them hung up around here in the VAPI office.
Now I have to mention he likes Scooby-Doo so much that he's talked about getting a Mystery Machine van, just some random van, and painting it or wrapping it to look like the Mystery Machine. But we also have one, like a Scooby statue that's 2.5 feet tall.
Oh yeah.
In the bedroom.
Yeah.
I stub my toe on it all the time. It pisses me
Right.
off. But another thing that really got under my skin is that the fact that Scooby-Doo never had any real ghosts in it. At the end of every one, I'd be like, there's no ghost. I wanted a ghost. I wanted them to find out it was a real spirit.
But see, an interesting play on that, Scooby-Doo, I don't know why we're going off on the Scooby, well, whatever. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, okay? They came out with this movie when I was younger, and this was the one where they had real ghosts.
Yes.
They were actually ghosts of Civil War soldiers that were on this Louisiana island. And,
Yeah.
I loved it because I love hot stuff too, and Scooby and Shaggy were sitting in the back of the Mystery Machine eating those hot peppers. But let me ask you this. How funny would it be? Maybe, I don't know, maybe people would think it was nuts. But how funny would it be if someone calls up a paranormal investigation organization like us and says, hey, my house is haunted, I need you to come out and investigate, and next thing you know, they're looking out their window and they see a mystery machine roll up in front of their house.
No.
That would be hilarious.
No. You know what? I have to comment. I mean, it would be cool to own one of those, to own a mystery machine, a real replica like that really looks like it. But I don't think you would lend to the credibility of the group if you drive up in one. I mean, I really, and I've got this design, this wrap design that we did for a Ford Transit Connect that I think would really be much more professional in a sense.
Right.
We want to maintain a professionalism. And
Absolutely,
up,
and I agree with that. I do agree with that. I just think it would be funny.
Even though we now have a puppy that, when he gets older, is going to look a lot like Scooby-Doo.
Yes, what is this? Check out this picture right here.
Boo Sniffer.
This is Boo Sniffer. Now, I guess we should finish the Mystery Machine conversation before we talk about Boo Sniffer.
Yeah. I mean, for one thing, it's this big, like, 60s, 70s kind of style design to the outside of it, which was really kind of, it's all outdated to begin with. But then the colors and everything, I mean, it's like very beach, sort of summer-oriented. And it's just not the black and gray and bright neon purple that is our brand.
Right, exactly. But we could take that Mystery Machine design, perhaps. Tell me what you think about this, right? We take that Mystery Machine design, the layout.
Right.
And we put our colors in it. And instead of saying Mystery Machine, it says Virginia Paranormal Investigations.
No, because you're going to have these big freaking purple flowers all over it. It's got those flower designs.
With a big VAPI purple.
No.
Make them gray.
There's no way I'm
Black
driving
flowers.
something that looks like
Why
that.
not?
No.
I'll drive.
No.
But anyway, Boo Sniffer. Boo Sniffer, this is our dog that we picked up.
Right.
We drove out to the western part of the state. We've been looking all over for a coon dog such as this.
Yes.
And he is red bone, blue tick mix.
Yeah.
And we plan on training him to be a paranormal K-9.
Yep.
Why?
Because coon dogs, for one thing, are very they have very sensitive noses. They say that they can smell something that's buried 25 feet down in the ground, which is amazing. But after seeing him, I really could believe that. But coon dogs, they're very stubborn in their training. You have to be very strong-willed with them to be able to train them properly. But once they're trained, they're actually extremely good dogs. They're very intelligent, very trainable, and they have very few health problems. The only problem that they have is usually hip dysplasia. And because of the fact that he's mixed, he's not a pure red-bone coonhound. He's probably dodged that bullet. So we don't have any problems with him now. He's like almost the size of our full-grown 9-year-old dog, and he's only like 16 weeks. So he's going to be a big dog. He's going to be real big. But if we can calm down a little bit, we can take him on investigation, start training him, and we're hoping that maybe he has a little sensitivity or can be able to detect things.
Yes, because it is believed, generally accepted, that dogs, particularly, are more sensitive to the spiritual realm.
Right.
There's been several cases. I can't tell you how many cases we've been to involving canines, where these dogs have seen something in the house, even just as soon as a few weeks ago. There was one where we saw with our own eyes this dog looking up at something and running from it as if he was scared.
Yeah,
These dogs, they can sense stuff. And what we do, it involves a lot of sensors, EMF detectors, thermometers, ambient thermometers, surface thermometers, gas meters, whatever we can measure, we measure, and cameras, visual sensors, audio sensors. So a canine would be a perfect addition to the team, because this is, like I said, dogs, they can go in, you know what their normal disposition is, and you know if that changes, if they react to something. So we're hoping that we can train this one up and actually get a little bit closer to being like, Mystery Inc.
Yeah, and if we can't, if he never gets properly trained or just doesn't catch on or just seems too, goofy to be able to detect ghosts, He is still a good mascot.
Absolutely.
And he's cute as hell.
Yeah, we'll
he's
take him out to
adorable.
haunted locations
Really
and pose
is.
him with the equipment and make it
Yeah.
look like he's investigating.
Yeah,
No one will know the difference.
Yeah, now the eventual idea is for us to be able to get some sort of a harness or one of those little vests that fits on him. And hopefully it'll have a couple of little pockets in it so that we can put maybe an EMF detector down in there. He's going to be like our pack mule. He can carry our equipment around.
Absolutely.
I mean,
If nothing else, he can carry some stuff around.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really heavy by any means. And but yeah, I think that'd be a very good idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this portion of the Paranormal Pub Table is brought to you by themagics.com. Perhaps crafted in heaven and handed down to Scranton, Pennsylvania,
Right.
the Magics. So, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of haunted places, historic places, make sure you check out the Ghost of Yorktown. Ghost of Yorktown, Virginia, a haunted tour guide. And I'll be glad to get you a signed copy of this book if you would like it. I can perhaps match Amazon's price, but with the shipping, it might take it back up a little above Amazon. But if you get a copy and you come on one of our tours, I'll be glad to sign it for you.
Right.
It has some wonderful illustrations in it.
It does. See, I'm
From
going to show
Linda?
you one right here. I don't know how well you can see it, but see the ghost ship?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to plug myself in here. I'm actually an artist, and I drew a couple of the illustrations that are in here. And I can draw other illustrations as well. Not just things that are meant to be realistic, but sort of cartoon-looking drawings and all kinds of little things. So
Yes, Linda did our logo as well.
I did.
And
yeah.
all the Yorktown Ghost Walks logos.
Yeah.
Check out
graphic designer.
YorktownGhostWalks.com, VAParanormal.com,
Right.
all that stuff. Linda did it.
Yeah.
And if you pick up that book, like I said, we'll be glad to sign it for you. Or if you order it from us, let us
Yeah.
know. We'll send you one. Just have to pay for shipping because we don't have the Prime benefits that Amazon does have.
Right. Now I have to say it's a really good book. It's very well written, I have to say. Even my mother, who was our best critic, she's the one that reads the stuff over, comes on the tours and says, yeah, it sucks or it's really good. And this particular book, she was really amazed at how well you wrote the book, because it's not just about telling the ghost story. It's about telling it in a way that you put people in the scene, in that particular setting. And that's what people like from a good novel, any kind of book like that. You really want to be put into the scene, into the setting of the book, and he does a very good job of that. And again, lots of fascinating history in there. So this isn't your typical, like who was L.B. Taylor Jr.
It's not
He
a
just kinda
typical.
cut
It isn't
and
a
dry
typical
tells the
ghost
story.
book.
It's
got a
not
lot of
typical.
actual fact, like a lot of actual history in it. It's all
Yes.
actual history, and
Yeah.
then the ghost stories on top of it. So
Right.
the ghost stories, like I said, once again, hopefully bring some people in that aren't into the history.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the history brings some people in that aren't really that much into ghosts. But
Right.
It's been
Yeah.
flattering to have such positive feedback on the book. So
Yeah.
thank you for that from Linda and from everyone who has given that positive feedback, of course. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in all seriousness, we are here to help.
Yes.
Virginia Paranormal Investigations, we go out, and a lot of people get surprised when I tell them this. Our investigations are free. We don't
Right.
charge a dime. We don't even ask for a donation. If someone calls us up, we've traveled as far as Georgia. We've traveled as far north as Pennsylvania, and we're potentially going to take a case
New
up
York.
in New York.
Right.
We have traveled to New York.
We did for the Hinsdale.
For
and
the Hinsdale
Wildwood
House in
Sanitarium.
Wildwood.
Yeah.
Yes, in those videos, I know people have been asking about them.
Yeah.
The only thing that's holding us up on those videos is we want to make sure we do a thorough evidence review. We did a lot
Right.
of surveillance. We had 4 surveillance cameras going. We had all the footage that we took from our handheld cameras, from the action cameras.
Yes.
We did a lot of audio.
Yeah. A lot
So
of
we
audio.
want to make sure we thoroughly go through all this evidence. And
Mhm.
plus, we've been so backed up with the evidence reviews because of all the cases,
Yeah.
the residential investigations.
Yeah.
But genuinely, like I said, if someone has something going on in their house, we go out and we want to try to help them. Our videos that we put up here, they're not to try to prove to anybody that there's ghosts
Right.
or to prove that anybody's nuts or anything like that. They're up here really just to show you what we do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So if some
show you
people
the
see the
reality.
videos, and you know what I think, let me know. Comment down below if you like this idea. I was thinking of doing a little segment on the next pub table where we actually respond to viewer comments, because there's been some comments on our videos, a lot of great comments, and we're really thankful. We love hearing that positive feedback.
Yeah.
There's been some kind of off the wall comments, and
Some downright stupid comments.
That's
as well.
true.
They just crack us up. Yeah.
that's true. We got some trolls every once in a while that
Yeah,
come through and
yeah.
say some crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
if you think it's a good idea that we put a little segment in here where we respond to viewer comments, we'll be
Right.
glad to do that.
Right.
Let us know though. We want feedback. There's a couple things that we threw out there. We do the gas grub and ghost videos, and whenever we get a chance to travel, when we got a bunch of investigations in one weekend, whatever it be, we put together these gas grub and ghost videos.
Yeah.
I've recently opened the archives. I've gone back and I've looked through some old investigation files, and I've released those in the VAPI archives.
Right.
So if you like that series as well, let me know, and I'll throw one out there every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Now I
have
have
those
to
out
say, somebody had commented and said, "Where's Linda?" On the archive video, and just to mention, I've only been with the group for what, 3.5 years, 4 years now, probably about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah,
4 years
yeah,
about to the
4
date.
years now. So
Yeah.
these archives go back even farther than me, and I've been on almost every single investigation. I think I have been on every single one since
Yes.
I started with
Linda's
the group.
been on ones that I haven't been on.
Right, yeah, I've done them myself. But there's a lot of really good videos and really good investigations that were done back then. The video quality may not be quite what it is today, as far
No,
as the
it's
video
definitely
at the
not.
investigations.
Yeah.
But still very interesting to go back because even for me, I enjoy going back and looking at these archive videos and being able to see what was done way in the past and what investigations were conducted back then. So, very interesting series.
Right, and this will be our 10-year anniversary.
Uh-huh.
Our 10-year anniversary since VAPI started.
Right.
Not since, I can't say since the name, but since we actually got together and formed what would become VAPI.
Became a group, right?
It's been 10 years this November.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of stuff, a lot of cases
Yeah.
that we've had, both private, both commercial, and we're looking forward to putting some of these cases out there.
Yeah.
But thinking of cases, when we go into a place,
Mm-hmm.
we're not trying to disprove anybody or say anybody's crazy or anything like that.
Right.
When we look for a logical explanation, a rational explanation,
Mm-hmm.
we are looking for the most solid evidence we can get. We're trying to help
Absolutely.
people explain what's going on. If these people are open to the possibility that this could be something other than a ghost,
Yes.
we would love to give them that possibility and say, well,
yeah.
for example, this noise under your floor, it's possibly rodents, or
right, or a
you know-
pipe knocking against a piece of structural framing of some sort.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So we go in there, and we're always looking for ways, because skeptics are our best friends, and that
Right.
sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
they help keep us honest.
Right.
They will pick everything
Absolutely.
apart, and I love that, because I can take what a skeptic says and I can really take that feedback and say, all right, how can I close this gap
Yes.
right here? How can I close it? And for example, there's some things that we could do better, but we don't
yeah,
necessarily have the
always.
funding to do it better. We don't necessarily
Right.
have the technology to do it better.
Yeah.
We're an out-of-pocket group, and we don't make any money at it.
Yeah.
And really, the ghost tours don't bring in a whole lot of money either.
We do take
So come and take
donations,
them.
however. If you really want to donate, we'd
Well,
love a
you could-
FLIR. We would love a thermal imaging camera.
Yes, that would be something that we would love to have.
Yeah, I'd like
But
that.
like I said, I have this whole handbook written out of the
Right.
way an ideal investigation should be conducted. We don't always do it that way because we don't always have the manning. We don't
Right.
always have the equipment.
But it's thorough. Let me
But
tell
it
you,
is thorough.
it's like he thought of everything. He thought of everything.
Right. But I have thought of something recently.
Uh-oh.
And this is something that I'm actually going to do some research into. I'm going to throw it out here.
Whoa!
I'm going to throw it out here and see if anyone wants to beat me to it. But I am going to do research. Last
Okay.
night, I was going to sit down and do research on this. But I got into editing subtitles for one of our videos because I wanted deaf people to be able to read what we were saying.
Okay, yeah.
So I got into editing the subtitles, and I wasn't able to, get to it.
Right.
Here's the theory, and this is crazy. This is going to sound crazy, okay?
Okay.
I wonder, bacteria can do crazy things. Okay?
Right.
Could there be a bacteria in a house that could cause people to hallucinate?
Ooh.
Okay? That being said,
Ooh.
this is where it gets deep. Okay?
Uh-oh.
Sage. Sage has been proven, at least according to something I've read, has been proven to be a natural way to actually get rid of bacteria from a house.
Huh.
Think about that. Now I wonder.
So the smoke from the sage?
The smoke from
Are
the
we
burning
like
the sage.
infusing the sage into a tea and washing it?
No, actually, burning the sage. The smoke from the sage has been known to kill bacteria.
Really?
That's what I read. Now, that being
damn.
said, I'm not a skeptic,
Right.
but I maintain a certain level of it
Yeah,
just for the
yeah.
cause of investigations. Because if I go and believe in everything and believe in everyone,
Right. Right.
you know, I'm open-minded. This person could be telling the truth. They could be lying. I'm pretty good at gauging that because I used to be whatever. But anyway,
Popo.
so think about this for a second.
Uh-huh.
If there is a bacteria, and I want to do some research into this, that can cause people to hallucinate.
Right.
If you get enough of this, I'm just going to throw something out there. Say there's some kind of mold, black mold or something like
Yeah.
that.
Something. Yeah.
Don't quote me on any of this.
Yeah.
But say there's something out there that causes people to hallucinate, okay? And sage actually kills this bacteria. So perhaps this bacteria is causing a person to think they have ghosts in their house. When someone
Right.
goes in and burns sage, it's killing this bacteria, and then they are no longer hallucinating and therefore think that the ghosts are gone from their house. How deep is
Yeah.
that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Research
That's why
is
I love
coming.
this guy
I'm gonna
because
do
he comes up with all kinds of ideas like this, and there's always some new idea, something that lends to the paranormal field, and I absolutely love that. I love the thinking outside of the box sort of thing, and yeah, I mean it's very feasible.
Right.
It's very feasible.
Absolutely.
What you're saying. I mean, people, we have no idea what exactly exists on this planet. I mean, there's so many things that are not directly in our visual, you know, in our sight that you can't see, and things
Microscopic.
that, right?
Aliens.
Not just microscopic, but yeah, things like energies and you know, Bigfoot. There you go. I love Bigfoot.
Right.
But things that you can't necessarily, you know, not always right in the field of view. And people think, well, if it's not there, if I can't see it, then, you know, it's not there.
Right.
But there's a very, very small understanding of those things. And I think it's great that we can think outside of the box. And it's very feasible, like I said, that some bacteria could cause somebody to feel like that. And because certainly energies can cause people to feel like that. Electromagnetic fields have been proven to cause people to have, you know, an overinflated sense of fear when there's really no reason
Right.
to be afraid of anything. So, I mean, why not? Why not a bacteria,
Right.
you know?
So, ladies and gentlemen, let us leave you on this note right here. If you can't prove something does exist,
Right.
you still have to prove that it doesn't exist
That's true.
before you don't accept
There
it,
you go.
right? So, I'm not really going to leave you on that note, but I'm
No,
throwing that
that's
note
not
out
the
there.
end.
We got to do a little bit of a closing
That's not
here,
the end,
but
right.
yeah. So definitely some interesting stuff. Some you know, some stuff to think about.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of wonderful things coming up for us, especially come October. We're going to be doing some cool things, so make sure you check out our Facebook page.
Yes.
It's a long title for the Facebook page because we got it a while ago, but it's facebook.com/VA Paranormal Investigations.
Right. V is in Victor.
Yep, as in the abbreviation for the state of Virginia.
Right. Correct.
Instagram @Virginia Paranormal, or you can just go to VAParanormal.com.
Yeah.
And it has links to all that stuff on there.
Yeah.
Follow us, because what we're going to do is we're going to keep updates on there, and come October there's going to be some cool things coming up. There's going to be the Haunts of Pocosin down here at the Pocosin Museum.
Right.
There's going to be perhaps the first ever public investigation
Yes.
of the old Warwick Courthouse in
Yeah,
Newport
that's
News.
going to be cool. We're all
That is gonna
excited
be
about
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Nobody's ever investigated that. I
Not to
love
my
those
knowledge.
places. Love those places.
Also, at the Pocosin Library, we're going to be presenting Haunted Hampton Roads. We're going to
Right.
be telling you about some haunted places in Hampton Roads, showing you some pictures. You can come out and check it out.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff coming up, festivals and
Yes.
conventions and
October's
all
our
that
busy season. We stay really busy in October. But I'd also like to mention that on the Virginia Paranormal website, we're actually starting a blog, and we're starting a resource page, which
Yes.
I've kind of started writing articles. And the first article that I put on there, it relates to people's children. You know, if your child is claiming to see spirits or seeing things that you don't see, how to determine exactly if that's a spirit or if it's simply a figment of the child's imagination. And another thing that we are working on right now is a document that is going to list every spot that we can possibly find in the state of Virginia that is paranormal. So it's going to be a directory of sorts that we can that you can reference, that you can look at to find out where a haunted location is and what the story is behind it. So
Right.
there's a couple of good things coming up on our website that are different than what we've done before, and I think are going to really be good resources for other investigators and just people that are interested in paranormal in general.
Right, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the next episode of the Paranormal Pub Table, the thin line between clinically diagnosed mental illness and paranormal events.
Right. Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
tough one.
Maybe that'll be the next episode.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of research.
Not really. I have one book that outlines it.
Ooh,
I
good.
do. I bought it at Goodwill.
Well, until next time, I'm Jeff,
And I'm Linda.
and I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt 'cause I'm on vacation.
Yeah, and the hat that Chris gave us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
watching.
Thanks, Chris.